Hi everyone, welcome to your Knowledge Hub. This is another video lecture on Foreign Exchange Management Act. In this video, I will be explaining what are the nitty-gritties that the startup founders need to be aware of when it comes to FEMA compliance. And this video will primarily take care of current account transaction and capital account transaction, which causes common confusion between every startup founder and every person who is trying to run a business. So, FEMA made simple for a startup founder. What we will be taking care of today: capital account versus current account, what you can do freely and what you cannot do freely, what needs to be taken care of. So, first of all, one basic idea that you must remember is FEMA divides all foreign money transactions into only two buckets. First is current account, in which money is used to run your business. Day to day business things are done in current account. Another is capital account, which is a tricky one, in which money is used to create, change, or repay ownership, loans, or assets. Now, FEMA says there are only two types of accounts: current account and capital account. Now, section 5 and 6 deals about current account and capital account. You don't need to read section 5 and 6. I am here to explain it to you. Now, first we will be looking into the nitty-gritties of current account transactions. So what does current account mean for you? Current account transactions are routine business transactions. They do not change ownership and do not create long-term assets or liabilities. Now, what are some examples of routine business activities? As a founder, you are allowed to buy or sell foreign exchange only through an authorized bank if the purpose is a current account transaction. I'll get to it. What does that mean? First, let us look into some common examples of what is a current account transaction. So what you can freely do is you can pay for, these are certain examples for current account transactions that I have taken. First is you can pay for foreign software tools like GitHub, AWS, Zoom. You can pay foreign consultants, freelancers, lawyers, receive payments from foreign clients, pay marketing agencies which are abroad, pay conference, travel, training expenses, pay export, import invoices. So basically what I'm trying to say is current account transaction are those transactions which are everyday business transactions. So in current account transactions, you don't need any RBI approval, no government permission is needed, just a certain bank compliances you need to do. So if you're India based startup, if you want to buy, let's say, uh, this AWS software, and you have to pay money in dollars, so you will go to the bank and you will say, I need to transfer certain payments in dollars. So certain bank compliance, certain forms will be filled, and you are good to go. Now, in what cases restrictions are applied? The central government may impose restrictions, but those restrictions are very, very less. In these cases only, you have to take care of the RBI notifications that are issued regularly. So, moving forward, if money goes abroad and comes into India to run your startup's daily business, FEMA allows it by default because current account transactions are going through. You are going through the current account transactions. Now, the trickier part, capital account transactions. It is governed by section 6 of FEMA. You don't need to read it. I will be explaining you. Now, this is a very serious compliance part because here permissions and RBI's everybody comes in and chips in and allows you to do certain actions, to take certain actions only after they are permitted by RBI and the government. So what is a capital account transaction? First of all, a transaction is capital account only if it creates or changes ownership, or creates or repays loans, or create assets or liabilities, or directly or indirectly affects the control of the company. So what was current account. Current account was when you were using the money to run the everyday course of the business. What is capital account? Here you are trying to change the ownership of the company, you are taking and creating loans, you are creating assets and liabilities. So it sort of affects the control of the company. So simple examples of capital account transactions are when foreign investors buying shares in your startup. This is a capital account transaction. Your startup is taking a loan from abroad. Another example is you investing in a foreign startup because you're sort of changing the ownership of the company. Issuing ESOPs to foreign employees, buying foreign shareholders or property. So these are certain examples of capital account transaction. Repayment of foreign loans. So FEMA says you have to undergo certain compliances. These are not free by default. Now, certain permissions exists even in case of capital account transaction, but you have to go by the rules. Rules we will be studying in further videos. What does the law say? Law say you may deal in foreign exchange for capital account transactions, but only as per section 6 clause 2 and section 6 clause 2a. I will be telling you what those two sections are saying. Now what does this mean? Capital account transactions are allowed, but only with limits and conditions. Now, what are the limits? What are the conditions? First condition is debt transaction. Debt transactions. So, capital account transactions are not free. They are governed by certain laws, they are governed by certain rules. And the first limitation is when you are dealing with debt transactions. Now, what does debt means? Debt sort of means a loan, bond, debentures, convertible debt debentures. All these things come under debt transactions. For examples, if a foreign loan is given to your Indian startup, or your startup is lending money abroad, or debentures are issued to a foreign investors. Now, there is certain RBI roles that the RBI play, certain things that the RBI does when you are undergoing a capital account transaction that specifically deals with debt transaction. What does the RBI decide? RBI decides what transactions are allowed, how much money is allowed, and what are the conditions. Now, this is the most important part of the video. Very important legal protection that is there to the founders. Once a loan is legally taken, RBI cannot stop the repayment of the loan. RBI cannot stop the normal loss in the value, and all these things cannot be done if it is done in an ordinary business course. Now, all this protection, when you get all such protections, these protections are available to foreign lenders, and it sort of maintains the credibility of the startup. Otherwise, you would have taken loan, and when you are repaying the loan, RBI comes up and says, no, you cannot repay the loan. So it creates a little situation that is not very viable for the founders and not very viable for the investors too. Another protection, another condition. The first condition was debt transactions in capital account transaction. Another is a non-debt transaction. Obviously, non-debt transactions in a very simple terms means equity shares, ownership interest, share capital, share swaps, like FDI in your startup, you investing equity in a foreign company, ESOPs in a foreign parent company, share issuance to NRIs or foreign entities. All these things come under non-debt transactions under capital account transaction. Now, who controls all this? Central government with the consultation of RBI controls all this. They both meet, they both frame the guidelines, and they come up with certain conditions which you are bound to follow. Now, what transactions are allowed, what are the limits, and what are the conditions? All these things are decided by the RBI along with the central government. So you must have read FDI policies. So FDI policy is basically for all these things only, for non-debt transactions under capital account transaction. Now, the last part and the very interesting part. Let's say you are a founder who was earlier living abroad. So if you have worked outside India, if you would had held foreign shares, if you have owned property abroad, if you have received ESOPs abroad, you can continue holding them after returning to India. No FEMA compliance, no FEMA guidelines will apply to you. Another thing, foreign co-founders who have earlier lived in India, in that case too they can continue holding whatever investment you have made when you were a part of India, whatever investments, whatever holdings you have got, you can continue to hold them. No FEMA compliance, no FEMA punishment for you. Now, if a foreign company is setting up in India, what does they need to do? If a foreign startup wants an Indian office or your startup has a foreign parent, then RBI can allow, RBI can regulate, RBI can restrict, RBI can prohibit everything according to the FEMA rules, FEMA laws. Now, what exactly are debt instruments that we have read? But this debt instrument has not been defined in FEMA. Central government defines what exactly comes under the ambit of debt instruments. RBI decides what comes under the ambit of debt instrument. So basically, this power of deciding what debt instruments are, RBI and central government have kept it with themselves because they want certain flexibility in their decision making. So we have learned what is a capital account transactions, what is a current account transaction, what happens when there is a non-debt transaction, what happens when there is a debt transactions, what happens if you had earlier lived in India, now you have shifted abroad, what will happen to your holdings then. So all these things we have covered today. It might be a little boring lecture, but it must have helped a lot of you to understand certain things. Thank you for watching and have a good day.